So for today's video, we're going to be looking at some puzzles, and I'll show you guys my thought process while I'm solving them. Yeah, and also I'll give you guys a sort of basic guide on how to solve the easier puzzles on this list. Now, first of all, when you have a puzzle, you're gonna wanna count the material. Because, well, you can see here I'm down a rook and a couple of pawns. So let's say I win a rook, then it's not going to be enough. White's still going to be winning. So we know I have to checkmate. Now, why do we look for the checks, captures, and threats? Well, that's simply because it's the fastest way to find good moves, yeah? Because checking the king often leads to good things. Now, this is, of course, a very basic example. This king moves out, boxes itself in, all the key squares are covered, so this check wins the game. Now, this is sort of the same puzzle. Yeah, it's very important that you make a lot of these, so the patterns just stick inside of your head. Yeah, in this case, you can see he's up 2 pawns, not exactly a rook, but, or 3 pawns, sorry. But we know, okay, this king again is boxed in, has nowhere to go. And yeah, this check is fatal. So we're just gonna breeze through these first ones. Okay, yeah, this one, again, a check. Yeah, now here, these are more sort of advanced, I guess. You're again down 2 pieces, so you know basically either you have to win a queen or you have to mate. Now in this position, if you look for the checks first, you see you can take this pawn, and actually that's just checkmate. So we shouldn't dwell on this one too long. Now here, if we look for checks, again, we have 2 checks. Check here, he can take. Check here is checkmate. So it's gonna go pretty fast. Now here, yeah, we still haven't had to use the captures or the threats because this is again just a checkmate. And it's gonna start off like that. And yeah, because I've seen this 1,000 times, you know, these patterns are very simple. So yeah, and if you solve enough of them, this should come to you very easily. Anyone can do this. It's not really impressive. Yeah, now here, if you look at the checks, okay, if you check, he can, besides that he can take your queen, he can also just move the king and there's nothing there. Now, this check obviously hangs something, but this check is guarded. He moves the king, you give another check and it's checkmate. Now in this case, this one is more advanced. So you see, yeah, a very important thing to look for is unprotected pieces. Yeah, you see the bishop unprotected, rook unprotected, and in some cases that can lead to a win of material, yeah? Here you can see, okay, the check, the king has to go up, because if he blocks with the rook, I just take. So, check here, and then another check, double attack. It's very, very easy. Now, one thing that is, by the way, pretty important is that you don't make the first move of the puzzle and then sort of so like let's say you make one move of the puzzle and then start thinking again, because then you don't visualize the entire thing and it's gonna cost you some points. Now in this case we actually have to go through the entire list. Yeah, checks, captures, and threats. Now this king is actually boxed in, so there's no checks. um Now threats, so sorry, captures. Okay, I can take here twice, but it's not really gonna, I mean, it gets me the queen on g6, but he can easily defend by the move queen f7. I can take this knight, then he takes back, nothing happens. So I have to start looking at threats. Now, okay, I can move the bishop. It doesn't really get me anything, and then you see, okay, wait. These pieces are sort of lined up in such a way that the pawn can attack them, and you win a piece. So this is again just one of these patterns you've seen 1,000 times, yeah? And now you win a piece. Now over here, okay, he takes, and we're gonna look for the checks, captures, threats. Okay, if I check, take, it's not, yeah, check. Here, and the king is safe. And then we see this check is checkmate, so that's easy enough. Okay, he takes. Yeah, here. Okay, if I check, he takes, and he just gets free attack, but the other check, we check with the rook. He takes. Then, okay, I take back, because, yeah, actually another thing to always look for is to look at the checks and captures in one. They are, most of the time, they are the right solution, because if you capture something and threaten something, it's very forceful. Um, Now, in this case, yeah, like I was saying, check, takes, takes, has to block with the rook, and then the g2 pawn is no longer guarded by this rook. So, yeah, these in this position you'd have to have the candidate move of taking, and he takes, so you look at the other check and then you solve it. It's very elementary still. Now in this case, okay, yeah, you can see these pieces are lined up. Yeah, and another very important sort of subject is semi-protected pieces. Now this is when a piece is guarded. You can see this rook, I obviously cannot take it because, well, he can take back. I mean, it's an illegal move. But if this king were to move, then I can take his rook. Now here, if we look at the checks, if this king moves, I can take his rook and I win the game. If after check, he goes up with the king, I can check and I can take his rook. So now I've seen all the possibilities and it's clear that I'm gonna win this game. Okay, this is a very messy board. So here we're gonna wanna go down the list. Yeah, actually I see it now. So you're just gonna wanna look at the checks, captures, threats. Now the checks, okay, I can take and take, because we have to look at the captures and the checks in one first, but yeah, you can see they are guarded. Then you look at this check, he has to take, I take, the knight covers this square, the bishop covers these squares, and so it's checkmate. Now here, bishop g5, oh, okay. This queen is obviously hanging. If I take, he's gonna take my queen. If I take back his bishop, he takes back the queen. But if I'm really smart about this, I would take here, and after he takes, I take another piece. So then if he takes back, I take his bishop, and if he moves the bishop, I take here. So this is still very sort of elementary. Yeah. And by the way, the reason I'm not thinking about the checks in such positions is because this king is on e1. There's no sort of legal check. So I automatically go to captures. It's just the more you do of these, the easier it will get. Now in this case, yeah, this is also, again, one of those checks, captures, threats ones. We can count the material. It doesn't really matter too much if you're doing puzzle rush, but if you want to have a very sound calculation, it's probably better. Yeah, we can see it's up to knights. But yeah, in this case, it doesn't really matter. You can just look at this check. You see the king has to move. Look at another check. And check. And there are like a million of these types of puzzles on Puzzle Rush. And if you do enough of them, this pattern is just ingrained. So you will always see this in a classical game. Okay, now here we have another position. Let's look. Yeah, okay, he's up one piece. This queen is a little bit awkward. I noticed that right off the bat, so... Okay, let's say I take and check. Bishop e4, attacking the queen. Then, okay, if queen g5, rook c6, I pick up this bishop. So that's... I can definitely win that bishop. Also, this rook is hanging. Yeah, there's gonna be two pieces hanging at the end of the variation, so this should win. I'm relatively sure of it. But yeah, and for these more complicated puzzles, we can also introduce the theme of candidate moves. So actually, before you start calculating knight d7, which I think is the right move, by the way, but you should make a list of like moves you want to check. Yeah, maybe you want to check a move like knight f7 attacking these pieces, and then maybe you want to check this move. Now knight f7 doesn't really accomplish too much, so yeah, it's definitely this move. Now, rook g1, he's threatening a checkmate, so I know I have to be fast about it. I see these two rooks. Take. Okay, he has to go there, check here. Then I bring the last piece into the attack. Yeah, that's very important. Include all your pieces in the attack, and it's a checkmate, because this square is covered. So this is all checks. King goes down. Okay, right off the bat I noticed this king is boxed in, so this check should be more or less fatal. Yeah, it's just checkmate. Okay, now in this case, we see the knight goes up. Weak back rank, notice that. Okay, check. Yeah, that's the first move. I mean, actually, queen e8 is probably the first move you check, but you see he takes. Now, after this check, I notice, okay, he can bring back the bishop. But then I take, and after he takes back, this is checkmate. So, yeah, okay, he blocks with the rook first. And now you're gonna take, and this is checkmate. So, this is, on a basic level, how you solve these types of puzzles. Now here we can see this king is weak. We can just count the material quickly because, yeah, this position is messy enough that I do want to do that. We can see the pieces are equal. I'm probably down like, what, 2, 3, I'm down 1 pawn. But if I play rook a8, I'm threatening checkmate. Now, of course, rook a1 just gives away a rook. So yeah, rook a8, threatening checkmate because this square is covered. And okay, let's say he makes a square for the king. I check, and then, yeah, I can take this rook. So after rook a8, it seems he has no way to prevent the loss of material. Now, there's also no counters by him, like all these squares are covered. So this would be the right move, yeah? Okay, the next one. Here, this should just be mate in one, yeah? Unless I'm missing something. Yeah, no, this is just mate. Okay, yeah, here again, this is a capture on h3 and a check, so we have to check that move first. Like, before you look at queen h4, before you look at knight takes f4, look at the double capture, and then you have to look for the check, and, well, it's guarded by the knight, it's checkmate. So this is very nice. You can just use these tactics, and you'll solve them easily. Now, in this case, this is more of a pattern you should probably know before you can solve these. This, I think, like, okay, let's say it like this. I'm not gonna calculate this one too much because it's one that you see all the time. It's bishop takes h7, you lure out the king, you get the knight in. When the king goes back, you play queen h5. If he moves the king, you take on f7. And if he guards the f7 square, you play queen h7 checkmate. The only reason I can see this in 1 second, like, of course, if I didn't know this pattern, I could figure it out in maybe like 2-3 minutes or whatever it's gonna take. It doesn't matter. The only reason you can see this in 1 second is if you've just seen this 1,000 times. So now takes, knight g5, king g6 is the only one you should check. And the reason I'm again not putting bishop takes h7 on the board is because we have to visualize this. So takes, knight g5, king g6. And now the solution, most of the time it's queen g4, followed by some knight takes e6, but yeah, he has f5. So I'm not too happy about that. Now after takes, knight g5, king g6, probably knight takes f7 should work. Because there's queen in d3, and that should just rip him of all the defenses. So I'm guessing after this, it's just gonna end the puzzle. Yeah, okay, he gives away the queen. Okay, king h7. Yeah, so okay, we're gonna look for the checks. Rook f7 check. If the king goes down, it's checkmate. If after rook f7, king h6. Well, if I go queen g7, he can go up, so I don't want to give him that square. Let's say I play queen e3, then he still can go down because the rook covers these squares, and after g5 I have queen e6. So this should be checkmate too. Okay, bishop d7. Yeah, now here, one of the sort of key themes of this position is this pin. Now, there's a couple of things. Okay, first of all, if I take on d7, he takes back, and there's no good follow-up. Yeah, my rook is on h1, there's no way to take advantage of anything. But, excuse me, if we then look at the captures, yeah, I can take this pawn, I attack the rook at the same time. So he probably has to move it to b8, and then after bishop c6, this bishop should be lost. Because it's pinned, of course, he cannot move the king. Or, well, I mean, he can, but then I take the bishop. He cannot move his bishop, because then I take his king. So, yeah, rook b6, and now you just take. Okay, here the king moves, and we can see he's up a queen, so either I have to win big material, or I should probably checkmate him. Now, first of all, this king is cut off, so checking here should bring back this king a row. And know about king g8. Now, knight e7 is check. King has to go up, I check again, and then I check on the back rank and it's checkmate. Because the king is cut off. So it can't go anywhere. So again, rook b7. Okay, now a different move would be king f8. Then rook f6 wins, because if he goes for king g8, I go knight e7, king g7, knight e5. He has to go down and it's a ladder checkmate, I think. Wait, actually, after rook b7, king f8, if I check here, king g8, knight e7, king g7, knight d5, king g8 back. There's no ladder checkmate because the rook is on f6, of course. So this remains a little bit unclear. So maybe I have to think a little bit longer about this one. Oh, wait, guys. After rook b7, king f8, of course, I should have been looking at this check, which is checkmate. So that is easy enough. Yeah, so like what I was thinking about, I just quickly want to show it. So after rook b7, okay, wait, sorry, rook b7, I was thinking about king f8 and rook f6, and I was thinking about this, and I thought, okay, I should be able to ladder checkmate, but I can't. But obviously, this is just a checkmate, so it was nonsense. So yeah, sorry for that. Let's keep going. Okay, we see this queen is oddly placed. King is a little bit weak. Yeah, I feel I have to trap this queen. Okay, rook g5, queen h4, knight g6, because then I cover the f4 square. If I go this knight f5, you can go queen f4, but after knight g6, that's not the case. Yeah, and any of these checks don't really get anything. But yeah, this should just box in the queen. Now in this case, okay, we notice the weak king. Let's see. This, I have a feeling somehow I can box him in. So yeah, okay. First of all, I was looking at this, but then king e3, so queen d2, king here, check, and then if he goes king f4, there's queen g5, and if he takes, then there should probably be some elementary checkmate again. Wait, this. Ah, wait. Yes, okay, so since after queen d2, king g4, queen g2, king h4, excuse me. After king takes h4, there's just no way to win. Because the queen is guarded, so you don't win it. But after queen d2, king g4, there's actually queen g5. Yeah, and now he has to go to h3, and then queen g3 should be checkmate because the pawn guards. So this is what I'm gonna go for. Okay, here I can notice right off the bat this bishop is gonna hit me with a discovery if I play a quiet move. And I'm down a piece, so probably it's gonna have to be some checkmate. Okay, f3 check. King has to move and rook h1 is just checkmate, so that's a little bit easy. Okay, let's keep going. Rook c1. Yeah, okay, I noticed this knight hanging on a4. After which, if I take it, I'm gonna be up a piece. Then also this is hanging. Yeah, so rook c8, just bishop takes d7. He's not gonna promote any pawns. Should just win me the game. Now, here, okay, this king is obviously weak because a king on h3 for white is probably, for black I mean, is probably bad news. Now, he is up some material on an exchange. He threatens also to trade the queens, after which the danger to his king is not that big. So yeah, probably I have to be pretty urgent. Now right off the bat, after queen h5, queen h4, we can see that after queen f5 he has queen g4. But yeah, actually I was noticing this check, after which I want to take. But he obviously threatens after queen f3 a checkmate, so I cannot take this bishop. So yeah, let's go back to this queen h5 line, this. Ah yeah, take, queen g4, I take, rook e4, and then both these pieces are hanging. And it's all checks and captures. So like there's a reason the checks, captures, threats are being preached wildly. Sorry, widely. English is hard. I'm a foreigner. Okay, so yeah, king c8, bishop f5 is checkmate, or okay, h3. Let's have a look. Okay, this looks way more complicated than what we've had so far. I'm down a rook. I have some compensation in the form of an attack. I want to play g4, open up the king. Aha, okay, so if I go g4, he has to take, queen takes. Then I'm threatening both rook takes g4 and queen h1, which is gonna be checkmate. And if g4 takes, I take with the rook, takes. And then, yeah, queen h1, king f2. And then maybe queen h4 check, not allowing him to escape via e1. And then when he goes king g1, we go queen g3, he has to block and it's checkmate. So to put that on the board, yeah, this, we take, check, and now not queen g2, allowing that king to run. No, we notice that, so we go queen h4, and this is checkmate. Okay, this position, we can see, again, this king is very weak. We see the bishop covers this, so basically if I remove this pawn, it's checkmate. So okay, I take, check, and yeah, even though it looks ridiculous to give up your queen, you should just checkmate. Yeah, so that's easy enough. Now here, queen c5. Okay, yeah, we're just gonna look at the checks. Now bishop a6 is a check. Excuse me, the king moves, and then queen d8 is another check, and after knight c8 I take. So it's just checkmate again. dc3, king weak. Yeah, and this is again one of those positions where I'm just not even gonna count the material, because right off the bat I sort of look at these checks. I just see queen e8, bishop f8 is mate. So there's no need to count. But let's say you're playing a real game where, you know, it's very complicated and there's no immediate mate. Of course, you want to be counting things and stuff like that. But yeah, here it's not quite needed. Okay, yeah, here he gives a check. I'm forced to go to h7. So this is a very weird puzzle. Like, I'm threatening to take this. I mean, if I play queen e8, he can just take. So I know this is the best move. And then I sort of have to guess what move he's gonna come up with to defend his king. So it's a bit strange, but okay. Let's say after king h7 he plays rook g1, which seems like a decent defensive move. Well, I can of course win this bishop by taking and queen g4, but I want more, I think. Maybe not, by the way, but yeah, maybe I'm content with taking that bishop off the board. Yeah, I think that's just it, yeah. Okay. Queen e1. Yeah, okay, so here, of course, we have to checkmate, because he's threatening to promote, basically. Now, this is a check, king h8. I feel queen d4 is another check, so, okay, king g8. I don't know how much that accomplishes, because, okay, if I go queen d8, king g7, he can sort of run out of my checks eventually. And it's not gonna lead to anything. Now, if I go queen g4, king h8, and I play a move like king f8, he has no checks. And I'm threatening checkmate on 2 squares. That means if he cannot guard the entire file by a move like queen g1, which I can obviously take, I win. So basically, when the checks, captures, and threats don't work, you have to start looking for these quiet moves. Or, well, actually, of course, king f8 threatens a checkmate. But when the checks and captures don't work, you have to look for these quiet moves. So, okay, yeah, I think this should be it. And the reason I'm not taking on f7, by the way, is because then queen f1 check, and the king moves out of the way, and I'm not threatening checkmate anymore. But after king f8, he has no checks. So he's gonna maybe make a queen. Doesn't really matter. It's gonna be checkmate. Okay, here we can see the king very vulnerable. This is obviously a mating pattern. Like, you can see, okay, I have a rook. If I get it to d2, it's gonna be checkmate. So, okay, rook f2 is obviously the first move I look at. Now, noticing my king is also a bit strange. Maybe there's some knight b5 check. Okay, if I take, he goes knight c3. And then attacking both the knight and the king. The mating pattern falls apart, because when the king moves, he takes my knight and I'm no longer mating. But after rook f2, knight b5, I can go king b2, and then he has no checks. And I'm still threatening mate, and he has no way to get out of it. So that should be the solution. Now, if this knight takes d5 is another move we should check, because of course if rook d2 he can take my knight. So I'd have to then take back, and then he has another check. My king goes back, and then, yeah, we can see king has nowhere to go. This is the way to go. So, okay, here we notice knight f4. This king is weak. Okay, he's up a piece, but yeah, check here and check is the pattern we've seen 1,000 times by now. Or wait, actually I have 2 squares. What am I doing? Of course, by the way, the reason why it's not queen g8, I went a little bit too fast, you guys, sorry for that, is that after bishop a6, if you go queen g8, he can go queen b8, and you have no check here, because he can take. Whilst if you go queen e8, then after queen b8, there's this simple move, queen c6, and this is boxed in. So, yeah, that's easy enough. Now, here we have bishop c4. Let's see. Okay, so the material is equal, but he has a little bit of strange pieces. Now, if I take, he takes back. I can see this check picks up a piece on c4. That's just because, again, this pattern is just ingrained. So if I take, he has to play queen e2, basically. And then after queen h4, he has to block, and I take, and I retain my piece, I think. I mean, he can go f4 though, maybe putting some pressure, but yeah, I'll at least be up a pawn for sure. So yeah, of course this should win. Now, for the sake of solving it all the way through, I think I'm gonna calculate a little bit longer, because yeah, we do want to know. So take, of course he doesn't take. I keep making this mistake. He plays queen e2, and he pins the knight. Queen h4, g3, take, and f4. Now, what is a nail in the coffin in that position? Perhaps it is just a move like bishop d6, a move like d6, a move like d5 maybe, attacking this bishop. Bishop moves. Not too sure about it. It's still a little bit unclear, and if he gets too much compensation with his bishops, it could be tricky. So this check here, take f4. Yeah, no, it could definitely be tricky, because I also have all my pieces on the back rank. But yeah, okay, let's say I play d6. I guard that knight. If he takes, I take with the queen, I'm up 2 pawns. And if bishop e3, I guess I'll just move out my queen, attack the rook, because the queen is no longer pinning this. So yeah, this should definitely be the solution. So yeah, we check, we take, and it ends. Yeah, now I think that will do for this video. I think I've shown you guys enough examples. So I hope you guys found this useful. Yeah, if you have any questions about this puzzle solving, leave them in the comments, and yeah, hopefully this helped you guys.